Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I guess my biggest question is, as far as like filling in the vacancies,
Yeah.
we can,
So I'm gonna, so right now, like I've been talking through some plans and I was gonna send them to the personnel committee, but that's, but I guess I can send them to the full board. I was gonna, type something up and just send some recommendations of what that looks like and hopefully get some guidance on that.
Yeah, if you need help in doing that, I would say the current personnel committee stands, so Elvira and Kara, and you use them.
Yeah.
And certainly if you want to share it with the full board too, we're happy to help, but I think faster action is always committees.
Yes,
yeah.
so whatever, so I'm gonna work on that tomorrow and hopefully have something done by Friday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And do you need help with anything else that you can think of with the board?
It's just staffing, like we've had some people calling sick and vacations, and so it's been a little tight this week, but
yeah,
we're making do.
When you prepare the stuff for the personnel committee, can you also include the job descriptions that were most recently used for each of the vacant positions?
Definitely.
All right, any further questions on the director's report?
No, I just want to, I want to say just how incredible I think the staff has been at the library, going through all this and being this short-staffed, and all of them pulling together, and under the leadership of Haley. I don't want it to get lost in this community just how hard they're working day in and day out to maintain services and making sure that the library remains a home for anybody that wants to use it. So I just want to say thank you.
I'll second that. Not that it's a motion, but.
Okay, any further discussion? Actually, item number,
Sorry, I have a quick question. For the 3 staff members that recently resigned, is there a plan to do like an exit interview of any kind, or does that happen through the village?
That usually goes through the village.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd pair at that point too. I'd like the exit interview is kind of a crucial step in this process. So yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Okay. Item number 9, we can be really quick. So this is kind of out of force of habit. I think we're used to giving informational on the Friends of Library report, but we did in the last meeting, we did say like that actually a member of the Friends board would come to the library twice a year now to give updates. So I think we're off the hook for this in future in board meetings here, but Haley, if you have anything to share.
Yeah, so I do attend the Friends meetings, like I have been since I started going here, since I started working here. And there are some things to highlight. Like the 2 main ones, I think, is right now they postponed Shorewood Reads, which was scheduled for 2025. So that's just kind of on hold right now. And then
Begins every sentence with a question mark.
Can we mute the public? So, sorry, go. And then there's another one top right. Okay. Sorry about that, Haley. You can continue.
And then the second thing is their budget is due to be voted on this month at the November 15th meeting, and they're looking at allocating about $36,000 to the library.
Great, good news for us. Moving on to any questions? moving on to agenda item number 10, Informational Finance Committee report. That is me. I can report that after it took a lot of work and coordination with the village, but we got 3 different checks from Wells Fargo, total of $179,000 deposited directly into the Greater Milwaukee Foundation Board Directed Reserve Fund, which we voted on doing in the September meeting. So that is accomplished. I have some receipts here to give to you, Haley, and that was excellent. That was a couple trips to GMF, a joint call with a meeting with the village, and then setting up a call with the village and GMF, and then be going back there in person. But we got it. Also, so we do have the Greater Milwaukee Foundation online access. So the online access is view only. You can't take action from there, which was exciting to me, so that we can kind of have that at our disposal. So future library director, library board president, probably the finance chair I would encourage to have access to that with their emails. We can get that set up. And that is, it's view only, so you can't take any action from there, but you can just check receipts, which I think is appropriate and good. That is all from the finance committee. Any questions? All right, number 11, informational personnel committee report. Elvira, was there a personnel committee meeting or a report?
Well, let's see. Kara, could you pick up there?
We did not have a meeting in.
Yeah.
No, for this month we didn't. No.
Okay, and then and we did, and Haley, you mentioned a little bit about the staffing earlier. Are there any questions for the personnel committee? All right. Moving to action item number 12, ad hoc library director hiring committee. As Haley mentioned, we do not have a library director, and I think it is, we obviously need one, because Haley is intending to stay as the assistant director. So so we need to get moving on this yesterday. And we've tabled it once. I think moving forward with this with speed and the right group of people as well is vital. So that's why I have it as an agenda item here. We can take a possible action to make that committee. I might suggest that we just take really ask everyone here to submit or to volunteer to do it. We don't have to, maybe we can do that in the next month, but we don't have to do it today, but we need probably at least 3 board members. I think in the past there's been a representative or 2 from the Friends of the Shorewood Library. I think other interested partners with I think that a member from the village should probably be on that committee, unless it's Eric, and then we got both. But even so, in addition, it would be nice to have someone from the village there, maybe village HR, and so assembling a team, and I think that needs to be done quickly. And I was hoping to have maybe tonight we could do even a chair.
Do you know who was on the hiring committee last time?
We have it written down. Elvira, who was on the hiring committee last time? I know you were.
Didn't hear you.
Yeah, you were on the hiring committee. I think it was Alex and
Yes, I was right.
yeah.
Who else was part of the hiring committee last time?
Who else on the board?
Hey, John, I would be interested to see that too. I think I agree with kind of one of the direction of this conversation. Let's have as broad representation as possible, as many stakeholders as possible. I'd imagine we can kind of use the blueprint of the former committee to assemble the new one. But broadness is where I would focus my efforts. I'm getting a lot of perspectives and input.
Yeah. Do I have a happy volunteer that would chair this committee and then assemble the team.
And I'm going right back on mute.
We could also,
I think it makes, I mean, it makes sense for a member of the personnel committee to chair it, doesn't it?
I would say that I would normally volunteer for something like this, but I will be out of town for the majority of the next 3 months. So I don't want to overcommit right
yeah,
now.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah, it's the best excuse I've heard. Like that's
Yeah.
We'll be in California.
sounds nice.
Yeah.
Well, we can, I don't want to get stuck here too long.
John, did you get any feedback from anyone raising their hand? I'm assuming based on this conversation that you did not.
I did not.
Okay. Was hoping, but you know.
Yeah, I was hoping to.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe we can just all think about timing and commitment, and at some point somebody's got to do it. So I don't know. I don't know if we solve it tonight, but at some point, somebody in the personnel committee or somebody otherwise has to kind of step up and kind of lead the search here. But
And I think having,
Potential committee soon.
I think just having us be able to look at the timeline for the last hire. I think I've seen some information, but a timeline for the last hire so people have an understanding of what this could entail.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe if we all saw kind of like how many, you know, what the kind of cadence of the meetings was, how long the process took, just kind of know, you know, especially for the newer board members, just to kind of, you know, I'll be honest, I don't want to raise my hand because I have no idea what I'd be stepping into. But you know, timeline and kind of cadence of meetings and number of stakeholders and kind of what kind of administrative stuff is involved, that might sway one of us, if that's possible.
Yeah, I think we could dig those up. I mean, we've got all the notes and things
check
out
as
somewhere.
well.
I'm sure Andy's probably the one to work there. I may send you I may work with Angie on that and send you all a do not reply type email that gives a better idea. We may be doing we'll see like when the results of the investigation come back, but we may be doing a special meeting in the next week or two that's a little faster than the waiting a month meeting. That's a guess, that's not for sure, but so maybe I can work with Angie, get something to you guys, and then we will we gotta do it. So unless there's volunteers, my last act as president will be appointing someone to it. So.
Jonathan, I have a quick question. Is the board interested in pursuing a search firm to help with this? There is a cost that comes to it, but I'm hearing other people's concerns about time, and I wish I was going to California for the next 3 months. But that is an option to handle some of the, you know, heavy lifting and time consuming tasks. But again, there's a financial cost with that, but I just wanted to put it out there.
It's a great idea. I still think like there would be a committee that would be kind of working closely with that, but it wouldn't replace the committee, but it certainly would take a lot of the heavy lifting and outsource it, which I would be a big proponent of.
I also might think it would help with, you know, just some of kind of the dynamics that have been at play. And, you know, when you have professionals assisting with that process, it helps eliminate some of the questioning of the process, perhaps.
That's a great point.
Yep, I think that's a solid point too.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, so should we table this?
Sure, I'll move to table.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. All right, action item 13, leadership development and training for library employees. Speaking of outside professionals, there are people that work closely with team building, with HR, with conflict resolution, things like that. And I think bringing in a group like that to the staff here, I think would be great. I think it would help with like a healing process and moving on. I guess the action item I have here would be, well, I guess I have a question about process. So first of all, like if we think it's a good idea and we want to move forward, then we have a process. Do we need an RFP or can we just empower someone or to go ahead and do that with a certain amount of funding? And we can hopefully do that at this meeting here and start those conversations with firms that do this. Or if we think it's a bad idea, we just don't have to do anything. But I think I chatted a little with Haley about this. I think you thought maybe it'd be a decent idea. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Like the sooner that we can get the process started, and and have staff engaged, the better.
Great.
I-
I do think that would be something that's more of an ongoing, like someone who could come in a few times, just because we are in flux with hiring right now. I'd want whoever we bring in to also be a part of that in the future. So I don't want it to be like a one-time thing we do in December and, we hire a bunch of new people that aren't part of it.
It's a great point.
But I don't think
Yeah.
we would need, I don't think we would need to do an RFP for it.
Yeah. And I think we have unused Lang funds, and this is like making the library, this is like for improving the service of the library. So I don't think there's a conflict of using the Lang funds for this purpose.
Does anyone have a group that they've worked with and have a connection to, I guess?
I have a connection or two. So it's from Camp Manitowish and YMCA camp in northern Wisconsin. They do like leadership facilitation, and I do know some people from that at least will know people. This could also be something that like Haley, that you just empower Haley to do, and then like I know you have a lot on your plate though, so if you all are comfortable, I think it's going to take a couple conversations and for us to get more information here before we know the final cost or whatever. I will say it's going to be surprisingly cheap. So I think if this is a process we want to get going, I'm willing to take the initiative here. If you guys, I just don't want to do anything without like the board, approval on moving forward.
John, I have two comments. One is, how soon could we do this? Getting the help for the personnel at the library. And two, we should inform them that we are actively working on this so that they know they have our support and that we are, again, forcefully and actively working on that.
Yeah, those are both, well, your second point, absolutely. I think it's going to be communication. It's not, you can't just come in and say, oh, like show up to this thing.
Right.
So I think, saying why and what the benefits are and communicating that is going to be very crucial. How fast can we do it? I would say if we have someone that is empowered to, with a small budget, I think we could get someone in here like, I would say in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. So then I think it's timely, if you think it's about 2 weeks, to let the personnel know that we are working on this. Because I believe they really need to hear from us that we are supporting them and that we are, again, actively working on that.
Yeah, so I think, so the 2 weeks is probably from our conversation empowered to do that, but I agree, I think there's some steps to be taken first, which is, you know, agreeing on what we're trying to accomplish, and then communicating that to staff, and then working through it. So, you know, maybe 2 to 4 weeks.
Jonathan, I would support you pursuing that. And then the other thing, I agree with Elvira that we need to communicate that. And I know that is the plan. And on that same note, you know, I just want to acknowledge that I have been receiving messages from staff members to which I have not replied, because I just wanted to clarify that the president or the interim president of the library board responds on behalf of the board, so that we're not all individually responding. But I know I haven't ever had that conversation with you all, so I just wanted to clarify that's kind of our way of operating. And if not, you know, then I would want to reply, because I feel bad receiving these emails and not knowing if people are getting a response.
Same boat.
Yeah, same boat. I think that was, that's sort of what, the first item number 15 here was gonna be about. My instinct was to be, reserved and reserve replying until we talked together as a board, and then we can kind of reply. Sometimes I just say, you know, thank you, and, you know, received, but even that, there has been a lot that came in the last couple of days, that I also have yet to respond to.
Yeah. And I think it's important, you know, it'd be nice to have kind of a unified message. You know, but it has been a lot. So I have the same kind of question in terms of the messaging and how we get out a response, and just making sure that there's kind of, hopefully there'll be alignment in terms of how we're responding.
Yeah, so I think with that, we could kind of, so do you guys agree with Lori? You'll let, maybe me, and I'll work with Haley on talking to some professionals and seeing what we could line up and what it would entail.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as it's the two of you, sure. Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. And of course, like when it comes to paying, I think that will be a board. All right, moving on to number 14, library board legal representation. The library board should have legal representation, and because we are independent, in the past, we have shared resources with the village. I think because right now there is, when I chat with Rebecca Ewald, she has encouraged me and the library board to get our own representation. Because the one we usually use is representing the village right now. And so in dealing with that, I think it's abundantly clear that we need to have legal representation. Wes, I think your idea of bringing them into more board meetings to have, you know, is appropriate from time to time, and that's something I'm very interested in doing in the future. But this was a point here that, and it was encouraged, you know, that, you know, when I spoke with Rebecca at the village about this, she said, you know, just so you know, like the lawyers now are representing the village, and if you guys want legal representation, you absolutely should go do that. But like the lawyer's working for us now. And Eric, correct me if I'm wrong there, but that was the message I got. And I think it's very clear that we do need to do that.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I think that, you know, long term, I can tell you from my perspective as a village trustee, having council not only go over agendas, but making sure that we're adhering to open meetings and closed session rules, and even participating in meetings with us in case a question comes up, is incredibly important. And, you know, I would be very, very interested in making that a reality in the next month.
Yeah.
If we can.
just to chime in and piggyback, I agree. And one thing I would say, just in terms of the day-to-day operation and agendas and answering questions at meetings, we also there aren't a lot of lawyers who have this specialty. You could theoretically even use the same lawyer, like Nathan's the village attorney. You could use the same lawyer as the village uses, but you just have to be clear that the lawyer was, lawyers represent lots of different clients. So the lawyer will be wearing the library hat when he's in this meeting, wearing the village hat when he or she is in that meeting. Sorry, I was thinking about Nathan. As long as there's no conflict there, and hopefully there won't be obviously there will be times when there might be something where the lawyer, you need to find another representation. But as long as there's no conflict there, you theoretically could even use the same legal resource.
Yes, I agree, and I think we have used Nathan and some of those guys before. It's pretty clear right now that we need our own representation that is different, and it's also nice to have, I think, different points of view, and maybe even having a few different law firms that we use and bounce ideas off of isn't the worst thing. Having a little diversification.
And to be clear, I totally agree with that. I'm not definitely not arguing that point. I'm just worried that there's only a few lawyers who do it's just hard to find lawyers who do this. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. So I heard, was it Wes or Eric? I think you guys said in the next we need one fast. I would agree. This should be expedited. And
I mean, I can ask some of my friends that work at firms and see what their firms offer.
yeah, and I would say specific state library and employment law are probably the key things here right now. So
If
yeah,
it-
We need to do an RFP for this, though. I think this is a service. We probably should.
yeah. So again, this is comes back to process. RFP. Do we just empower someone to do it?
No, I think for something two things. One, I think that this is a good opportunity to go to Rebecca at the village and ask her if she has any suggestions on firms. Because again, as Wes said, this is a very sort of niche specialty. And two, I think it absolutely should come back for an RFP, and this is something that we should discuss and pass as a board.
Yeah, I would say let's RFP it. Yeah, makes sense.
Sounds good.
What is the RFP process?
I would think it would be something where we would identify. I don't know if we'd identify firms on the front end, but I assume we would, and then we'd send out kind of what we wanted, how we wanted them to represent us. Come to meetings. Here's the time of the meetings. What are your hourly rates? What are your specialties? What are your CVs? And then when we come together as a group, compare them all and pick out the one that we want to ultimately go with. I think that'll be the rough outline of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's no established RFP process, I don't think we should reinvent the wheel. Just ask the village what theirs is, and then take the ideas that we like. And if we have to make our own, we can. But if we don't, let's not have more work than we need to have.
And my apologies, everyone. I need to drop off in about 2 minutes. I'm past my hard stop point. So,
all right. Well, we appreciate it. All right. The last was the next. Okay. I think writing an RFP. Sorry, before we move on. Your volunteer. Kara, thank you. That's awesome. And yeah, I'd say, the village probably has an RFP process and they could be helpful to you, and yeah, cool. All right, moving on. Any other questions? Moving on. Communication from library board to library employees. I think the library employees have a lot of questions about what's going on with the changes in the staffing, changes in the board, and I think there needs to be a strong and clear and unified message from the board to the staff about what is happening. Not sure though if we're unified in that. So I'm all ears, but I don't want to communicate something if it's not true. That I will not vote for.
I mean, you could communicate what has transpired in terms of, you know, what was voted on, and what was, you know, agreed upon. I don't know, like, from my perspective, none of that has changed.
Yeah.
If it has, I haven't been part of those conversations, so.
Yeah. And I don't want to just say, we're here to support you. I want to say, we're here to support you with this and that, right? With these concrete steps we're taking. I think we've made a little bit of progress there today. And maybe that's where what we communicate.
I would add, Jonathan, that I mean, I would feel most comfortable if the president of the board responds on behalf of the board. That's just what I'm used to in terms of working with boards. Because again, I think that, you know, the president of the board speaks for the entire board. None of the rest of us do. We speak as individual members of the board. So I think, you know, it's very safe to say, you know, the board has discussed pursuing some kind of support for you in terms of this agency that you mentioned, and or something similar, to talk about, you know, conflict resolution and to help with staff morale and dynamics. We are also looking to organize a search process for the next director and are considering pursuing a firm and or, you know, convening someone from the personnel committee and or another board member to lead that charge with a broad community stakeholder group. So I think there are some concrete action steps that we can take, but when these messages come in, the most important thing for me is for that somebody to respond, which I think is most appropriate for the president to do, so that people know that we are receiving their messages and hearing them. And I'm happy to help craft a message, but I just want to make sure that we're all not responding.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that that's a very kind of, I think it's totally fine with me for the president to respond. There's a lot of kind of factual, concrete steps that we've taken here. And I think that that's probably the right approach here. And with that, I do apologize, but I have to sign off for the night.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, Wes.
This is Eric. I tend to agree. I think it's real important though that before it go out, our attorney, hopefully an attorney, even if we just use the village's attorney for a moment, someone takes a look at the language to make sure that everything is appropriate.
Okay.
As the first sort of formal communication from the board to staff.
Absolutely, and I was hoping we'd have a new board president instead of an acting president tonight. So should I even do this, or should we wait? And if we wait, I think it's another week on another week of uncertainty.
I think you should absolutely do it. You're the interim president.
Okay.
I agree. I'm happy to help craft a message, but also trust you to do that, Jonathan.
Okay. And that's a good idea to have the attorney look at it. That's a great suggestion, Eric. Okay, moving fast if we can. If there are any more comment on communication to library employees. Now, the next agenda item is moving to closed session. I have a motion.
I'll move to go into closed session. I can't pull it up. Pursuant to my pursuant to section 19.85 1C for consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation. Data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. and under Wisconsin statute, section 19.85. Considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons. Preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except or paragraph B applies, which if discussed in public would be likely to have substantial adverse effect on the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations, specifically discussion of library personnel matters.
Okay, so like while we're doing that, the Zoom is doing that
The Zoom
again,
will
How
have-
much time do we have?
We have,
2 minutes.
I think.
So
this-
we're gonna have to
this-
restart.
Well, yeah, we'll have to restart, and we're also need to figure out how to go to closed session, but do I have a second? To go to close,
Second,
okay, we need a roll call vote, Lori,
aye.
Kara,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Aye. Elvira, aye. All right, Eric. Eric, are you there?
From you.
Sorry, I was muted. I am an I. Sorry about that.
Okay, and we don't have Wes anymore. So that is passes 5-0. We're going to close session now. And so I guess we're going to have the public leave somehow, or
Well,
So-
first of all, we have to log off the Zoom and do that whole process again.
Yeah.
And then I'll try and sort out how to,
okay,
If
so
everyone
actually,
can-
yeah, if everyone could, we're gonna close out, we're gonna log out, log back in the same way you did. And the public, if you want to come back, you'll be in the waiting room. We will not be allowing into the closed session. If you do wait, I think at the end we'll, for like a second, go back into open session to close probably, but that is the process. So close out and come back in if you would, board members, please, in closed session.